Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to NEWSROOM. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 27th of June 2022. These are the stories that we'll be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin with the hosting of the G20 summit that is apparently going to be held in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as per what India has stated, and this is what has been plaguing the people of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and has enunciated a statement from Pakistan as well, where on the one hand the Indian authorities and the Indian government are unleashing brutalities on the people in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. On the other hand, India, that is supposed to take the presidency of the G20 in December, wants to show an era of normalcy in the held valley. In fact, a whole plunder of lies, and this is what Pakistan is extremely concerned about. This is going to be our first segment. Our second story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns Pakistan's war against terrorism, and of course in the whole context of the National Action Plan and the developments that have taken place since December 2014. Now, Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, who's our Prime Minister, has said that the previous government had shown apparent negligence as far as involving the provinces in the National Action Plan is concerned, and the Premier wants more of involvement of the provinces as far as coordination with the federal government for promotion and betterment of the National Action Plan is concerned. We've seen the number of people of the armed forces who have been martyred, who have been injured in the last few weeks and months as well. We'll discuss that as our second story. Our third story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the COVID-19 positivity ratio that is nearing 3%. It's around 2.85% across Pakistan. Most of the cases and the rise in positivity is in the Sindh area, in Karachi and Hyderabad. In the whole context, there have been some new developments as far as the decisions taken, whether it be wearing of the masks of all the passengers who are either taking the bus or taking an airplane for local flights. It is mandatory for them to wear the mask. On the other hand, there's also the need to follow the SOPs elsewhere and also get yourselves vaccinated or boosted if the first two doses have already been given. This is going to be our third story. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the tourism and the promotion of tourism in the northern areas of Pakistan. As many as 1,400 mountaineers from across the globe, from across the world, including the first female Arab climber, are expected to scale some of the world's highest peaks in these summers in the northern areas. And of course, there's a lot of positivity as far as the beauty of the northern areas is concerned, whether it be the peaks, whether it be the greenery, whether it be Skardu or Gilgit or Hunza. A lot of people are enamored by that, and more tourists are visiting it. This, of course, puts Pakistan's northern areas in a very positive light. This is going to be our last story. Let's come with our first segment, and that concerns India's presidency of G20 in December and its apparent holding of meeting of the G20 states in December in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Is that right? Is that not posing a negative and false image of the held valley where brutalities are happening? More in the following report.
India has long sought to discredit the indigenous freedom movement in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as its actions aim to change the identity and demographic composition of the occupied valley and to transform it from a Muslim majority state into Hindu majority territory. Since the region is under New Delhi's forcible and illegal occupation, BJP government is attempting to hold the G20 summit in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. NDTV reported that India is planning to host the 2023 meeting of the G20, and its Ministry of External Affairs has already issued directives to the authorities in the occupied territory to ensure necessary arrangements. Pakistan has completely rejected Indian bid to hold G20 meeting in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, reiterating that Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir is an internationally recognized disputed territory between Islamabad and New Delhi. In a statement, the Foreign Office emphasized that India is responsible for widespread atrocities and egregious human rights violations in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Since India's illegal and unilateral actions on August 5, 2019, Indian occupation forces have killed 639 innocent Kashmiris in extrajudicial murders. Indian designs are aimed at garnering international legitimacy for an illegal and tyrannical occupation continuing for over 7 decades, and international community must foil Indian attempts to blatantly violate international law.
Former Ambassador Najam Saqib joins us online. Najam Saqib Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Najam Saqib Saab, A, India assumes presidency of the G20. B, it wants to hold the first meeting in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Does it not pose a lot of problems and a lot of question marks? Don't these countries who form G20 apart from India know the situation, the actual situation in the Held Valley?
Brief answer is, of course, India knows. But we have to go a little deeper into this to understand what is happening and what can be done to forestall this event being held in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Look, right now the 17th G20 summit is going to be held in Bali, Indonesia. India has shown its intentions under its presidency next year that it will be holding, the G20 moot in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, look, it is up to the president of, or the chairperson or chairship of that particular informal forum called G20, in which city, in which province of that country they want to convene this meeting. Now, as such, we know that the occupied Jammu and Kashmir is an internationally recognized disputed territory. It is internationally accepted that it is not a part of Indian territory as such. Now, Pakistan has already reacted to it. Our spokesperson of the Foreign Office has categorically stated that the participants, the 19 members and the European Union should know that this is not on, this is not fair, not only with the United Nations Security Council relevant resolutions, but the people of held Jammu and Kashmir, where there are extrajudicial killings, where there are atrocities, where there are, huge human rights violation, etc., etc. Now, my question would be that is this rejection through a press release is enough? And number two question is, would it help in any way just to shift the venue of this G20? The answer lies in the composition of the G20, because it is an informal, as you know, Omar, it's an informal forum of 19 countries and European Union, and it is of the leading, economic giants of the world, holding about 80% of the total GDP so it's an economic forum, and as such, its convening of this meeting in an internationally recognized disputed territory makes it a little political, which it is not. Now, what can Pakistan do? Naturally, you can't ask, the United Nations, or you can't go to any international forum. We have been approaching all the international forums, telling them that what India has been doing, especially after August 2019. I think the best course of action would be that if you select 4 of the members of this G20 group, namely Turkey, the former Turkey, Indonesia is here, China is here, and the 4th country is Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, China, and Turkey. These 4 countries can be contacted at the highest possible level. Especially Indonesia, which is the current, which has the current presidency of this forum.
But what I'd like to understand, I understand what you're trying to say and your point of view as well. But what I want to understand from you as well is, being a diplomat and you understand the different way diplomacy works between different countries, what kind of diplomatic achievement is India trying to make by holding this event of 20 leading economies in, as you said, a disputed area, an area that has been disputed since decades? Is it trying to show that the area A is part of India, B is no longer a disputed area, as it itself has been saying time and again that the held valley is an atut ang, quote unquote, of India? And C, do these very countries that form part of the G20 understand India's perspective and also understand the realities that are behind Indian perspective?
The answer to first question is, of course, India would like to manifestly tell the world that the actions that it took in August 2019 that they are moving ahead with it, and it is already accepted. The word atut ang that you have used, the integral part, India has been claiming this part of this disputed region, this disputed territory as an integral part of India. The whole world knows, particularly those which are members of this, for instance, United States of America, UK, France, Germany, Australia, all these are members of G20 as well, and of course the United Nations. Now, it is not that they don't know what exactly India means by this and what exactly the diplomatic mileage that it will be getting according to its own imagination and calculation to hold a very important international event. I repeat, a very important international event in an internationally recognized disputed territory. Naturally, if it happens, the world would know that even Pakistan and the whole world has already accepted, that it is a part and parcel. This disputed area is a part of India as such. Now, the muted reaction of the international community, especially the United Nations Security Council and the General Assembly and world at large, even our friends, we have seen that the August 2019 actions of India have not been rebuked, have not been reacted, have not been responded to as they should have. So to me, I think it is Pakistan and Pakistan alone, and perhaps with some of its friends, like China, like the friends that I have mentioned, that they can prevail upon Indonesia, the president of the G20. They can prevail upon India to desist from making an economic event into a political, thing, in a way that a friend like Pakistan can feel the heat. And secondly, how can you possibly, diplomatically speaking, politically speaking, and even economically speaking, how can you make a totally, completely a non-political international forum for your political purposes? So I think the world knows, but would they be, telling India, their dear friend and a big market and, a big country, the largest democracy of the world in so many terms? I don't think so. So it is a matter which Pakistan has to take up on its own, and it will give us an opportunity also to tell the world once again the story of the held, occupied.
And it will, I think that Saqib Sahab, it will also give us the opportunity to gauge the reality and how many countries are accepting this reality of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir or versus the Indian perception of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I'd like to refer to what the Foreign Office said as a result when it was announced that India, of course, it called it a controversial proposal from India, but it also urged the international community for three important things. A, call upon India to end its gross and systematic violations of human rights in the Indian held valley, that is Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. B, revoke its illegal and unilateral actions of August 5th, 2019. And C, free all political prisoners, including the true Kashmiri leaders. These 3 points are extremely important to Pakistan, are extremely important to Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as such. But does the world realize that?
This is not new, Omar, that
I know.
Such demands have been made. That's why I said that the world knows it, although the international community has not responded to the illegal actions of New Delhi. particularly taken in August 2019, but it has been 2021, almost 3 years. But the good thing is that international community has not acceded to. I mean, this is important. International community, the United Nations, has not acceded to India's actions as such. So if they have not reacted positively, with regard to its, the territory or Pakistan's point of view, it has not acceded to what India has done. Hence, the problem, the dispute is still alive. The United Nations Security Council, the agenda that a final disposition of this whole territory has to be decided through a plebiscite, a referendum, to give the opportunity to the people of the entire Kashmir region to decide whether they want to be with Pakistan or India. That agenda item is still alive. So what I'm trying to say is that the international community has played a kind of neutral, role in this, that let the two concerned countries and the people of Kashmir decide, which they have been trying to decide over decades. So the muted response from the international community should not be construed as accession, as acceding to India's actions of 2019 August.
Of course, I understand that perspective as well, but I also understand that, they are neither taking Pakistan's side nor they are really openly taking India's side, but there is a little tilt as far as India is concerned. Nevertheless, you talked about United Nations, and I'd like to cite two very important events. First, Saima Salim, who's Pakistan's representative at the United Nations as well. She was citing numerous United Nations Security Council resolutions identifying the held valley, that's in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, as a disputed territory. She said it is clear that IIOJK, that is in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, is not and has not been a part of India, and she has been saying that again and again. I also like to refer you to what our ambassador at the United Nations said very soundly, and he said that Pakistan calls for protection of those oppressed in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and also within India as well. Pakistan has been making these demands in the United Nations on the different fora as well. Are these demands somehow making an impact directly or indirectly?
Keeping the issue alive itself is an achievement, Omar. If we do not react to what India has been doing since 1948 and especially since 1989-90, when the indigenous uprising started, Pakistan has been reacting to whatever kind of human rights violations are taking place there, whatever kind of rapes and gang rapes and extrajudicial murders are being taken place. Pakistan is the only so to speak spokesperson in the entire universe for the people of Kashmir. Not only and one more thing, we do not say that the plebiscite should be held only in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir. For us, it is the entire region that we want, because our principal stand has been, it is still, and it will always be, that this is a disputed territory. This has to be done. And by the way, if we are recalling the United Nations Security Council resolutions, it was a unanimously decided decision, repeated over time, time and again, that this has to be done through a plebiscite, through a referendum, so that the aspirations of the people of Kashmir could be portrayed as such in an open way, so that they could be given a proper choice. By the way, in this principled stand, the independent Kashmir option is not there. So these things are still alive. Pakistan will never, normally a diplomat doesn't use a word never or always, but I am using this word never. Pakistan will never back away from this issue, because as far as our vital national interests are concerned, Kashmir figures at number 2, first being our nuclear program. Then Kashmir. And then secondly, it is not an issue dispute between India and Pakistan. We are talking about a community which is under subjugation, which is under repression for so many decades. And one more thing, before we finish this dialogue, even for 1 second, we accept that this Jammu and Kashmir, the occupied Jammu and Kashmir, is a part of India. Can you believe that the country, the capital of that country, the government of the time, they are repressing, they are pressurizing, they are executing their own people. So there is a paradox within paradox. World knows.
And in, last question, Najam Saqib Sahab, in this paradox within paradox that you explain so efficiently, there is also the issue of those sane voices of those journalists who are trying to tell the truth, and their voices are being now muted. On social media platforms, they are not been allowed to be seen in their own country, that is India, and a lot of journalists have reported that on different social media platforms. In this social media blackout of such people, where do you foresee the sanity within India going?
When we talk to the world, they say that, okay, if you're talking about the Indian occupied Kashmir, what about your Kashmir, the Azad Kashmir? And can you allow us to come, our journalists, our anchors, these people can come and take a look? It would always be a welcome sign from Pakistan. And you might know that so far in the last few decades, there have been many journalists, think tanks, who have been actually invited by Pakistan. One thing is that the anchors, the journalists, the think tanks from within India, the Indian nationals, they are asking permission to go to the occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and this request is being denied. This is one thing. The other thing is that we in Pakistan, we actually invite the whole world, and we have conducted, I remember in the Foreign Office for 35, 36 years, there would be numerous, delegations that would come from all over the world, and we welcome them. And that shows our honesty about it, that as far as this part of Kashmir is concerned.
Of course, that is quite transparent for the whole world to see. Ambassador Najam Saqib Sahab, Pakistan is open to any country, any institution, any ambassador to come and see Azad Jammu and Kashmir for itself, on how the people are living and how much they support Pakistan. Thank you very much, Najam Saqib Sahab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about a very important issue, and that is the G20 and the supposed holding of the next meeting of the G20 by India in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I'd like to end this by a quote which was said by Saima Salim, that India is bound by the decision in accordance with Article 25 of the United Nations Charter. By illegally occupying illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, India continues to violate international law and the rights of the people of the disputed territory. Let's hope the world reacts. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns, ladies and gentlemen, the National Action Plan and Pakistan's resolve to thwart all elements that are trying to destabilize Pakistan. Now, in a recent development, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Sahab has also said that there needs to be more of an involvement of the provinces, something that had not been done in the previous government. More in the following report.
Pakistan, as torchbearer of peace, has been spearheading various initiatives to prompt stability and security not only in domestic settings but also in regional ambience. In order to achieve cherished goal of peace by catalyzing domestic cooperation to deal with existing and emerging security challenges, the Prime Minister chaired a meeting in Lahore to review the overall security situation in the country. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif vowed to restore the role of provinces in the National Action Plan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif noted that ignoring provinces in implementing the NAP during the last 4 years had led to the rise in terrorism. The meeting also reviewed implementation of the steps to eliminate the sources of terror financing and relevant laws, and Prime Minister appreciated the performance of law enforcement agencies regarding the fulfillment of the Financial Action Task Force Action Plan. A recent report by think tank Pakistan Institute of Conflict and Security Studies noted that the lethality of terror attacks rose by 46% in 2021, with a 66% increase in the casualties of Pakistani security forces from the year before. more. Pakistan's security apparatus has broken the back of terrorism by defeating and degrading all types of terrorist organizations and dismantling their infrastructure.
Now, to discuss this very important issue, we've been joined by a very important guest, and that is Brigadier Haris Nawaz Sahab. He's an analyst. Brigadier Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Brigadier Sahab, when it comes to the National Action Plan and the involvement of the provinces, as has been described by our Premier Shehbaz Sharif Sahab, how important is that in the current context?
And so the point is, I would always say the National Action Plan, the 20 points, is Amrit Dhara for Pakistan, where we have talked about police reform, madrasa reforms, and judicial reform, the anti-terrorism. There were so many things are included in this, and certain points have been covered, and some points have still need to be covered. But I think it is a good thing the Prime Minister of Pakistan has spoken that provinces have their own role to play as well, and that is very important because federal government can't do anything alone. It has to be supported by all the provinces that may be Punjab, Sindh, KPK and Balochistan. They have to work together or somebody has to become, we have already established a NECTA and that is a place actually where all the things are collected, collated and then distributed to the relevant intelligences and provincials so that everybody can contribute positively in these aspects. That is why Prime Minister of Pakistan has said that these provinces have to play their part in this action. Or I wish that there should be a proper one conference related to
Brigadier Haris Nawaz Sahab, why have the provinces not been included in such an important program that is the National Action Plan in a more aggressive or efficient manner? Because looking at the whole conditionalities of how terrorism has affected Pakistan, it's not just those places that are under the jurisdiction of the federal government. The provinces have been affected as well, as per the latest PIX report as well.
I would say provinces are more affected, particularly KPK, Balochistan and Sindh. There are the common problem where the most of terrorist activities are carried out and they're more prone to such activities. That is why I'm saying this is the job of the federal government to ensure and coordinate with all the provincial team captains that please send your requirements, send your observations, send your recommendations, what all center can help them out and what provincial can support the center because it can't be on diverging axis. It has to be converging axis. Everybody has to work together in harmony so that all the things are collected, collated, and then dished out, center and provincial level. So, and I would say the NECTA has to be more workable, more promising, more coming up. If you make NECTA effective, then all the things will be coordinated. Somebody should be coordinating. You see, your all agencies are working to all MI, then I will say ISI, then you say special branch, IB, then FIA. Everybody is doing their own work, but then somebody has to be collecting. And that is why the NECTA was formed and action plans were formed so that nobody is working in isolation. Everybody is work together toward the one goal that is to
Brigadier Sahab,
you
emphasize on the importance of NACTA and how it needs to play its role more efficiently. What needs to be done by NACTA? If in your point of view, what are the 2 or 3 very important points that need to be taken up ASAP so that a better coordination could happen between the provinces and the federal unit as far as taking care and thwarting all terrorist elements are concerned?
The most important thing I would say is first, the head of the NECTA has to be a person with a very good experience. He can be a bureaucrat and or he can be some retired senior officer from police or military. Number 2, then they have to be given funds. You see, they were short of funds. You need to have a good organization with all the resources available, latest gadgetry available, and that's so they can help out the other provinces and provinces can feedback whatever information they want and what are the support they wanted. These are the issues, and that's why it has not been successful because they were working without funds. You need to give them, they were asking for 15-20 billion rupees. And at national level, when we see that we are having a big terrorism problem, that means 15 to 20 billion are nothing. Somebody has to sit down, work, all the intelligence agencies of the Pakistan, they have to sit together, they have to work together, they must give the requirement, what all they needed, what and where they have to establish their each provincial headquarters, and then they should be working together and with the one goal to eliminate terrorism once for all, and then it should never re-emerge again. That is the issue we have. We have finished the terrorism from Pakistan, and now you must have seen after departure of Americans, again it restarted because then there were so many reasons. Americans, while going, have left lot of ammunition, weapons unattended intentionally so that they fall into the hand of these all non-state actors like terrorist organizations, TTP, Al Qaeda, ISS, and BLA, BLF, and they again start creating problem for Pakistan. So that is what I say, that somebody has to coordinate all the things with the Afghan Taliban also. And Afghan Taliban must have a writ of the government established in their own country, only then they can work it. So these are the prerequisites before we get on. So everybody has to work in harmony and with hands, gloves together
All
towards the
right.
one common goal is to sort out these problems.
And I think that one common goal is extremely important for the future of Pakistan as a stable country,
Absolutely.
and so that other countries can come and invest in Pakistan. We've seen that the IMF has also taken
That
out a
is
very
main
positive
important.
result very lately, and of course the delegation is going to visit Pakistan to finalize Pakistan's coming out probably out of the grey list and in the white list, so that more and more investment can come. But nevertheless, in that arena, it's very important also that Pakistan's security becomes stronger and stronger till such time that other countries can openly come and invest in the country without any fear or apprehension whatsoever. Now, you talked about legal, judicial, police, madrasa reforms, hate literature, de-weaponization, special training to civil agencies. A lot of people are saying that these were not properly done at the provincial levels because of a lack of coordination between or that power that needed to be given to the provinces as far as the National Action Plan is concerned. Would you agree to that? And if so, what needs to be done at the very earliest? I understand NACTA's role, but if you would like to put NACTA on one side, what other reforms need to be taken very urgently?
You see, the point is every province must have their own coordinating headquarters in which you have all the escort agencies, whether military or civilians. They have to collate information. Somebody has to be made responsible for it, where all sit together, even in, I would say, in core headquarters or wherever you want it, or in the CM's secretariat, where all things should be coordinated, and then see how things are happening in each province. And any information need to be passed to KPK or Balochistan, where they find people are working against or they're getting together, so that immediately punitive actions are taken. Number two, Umar, important thing is that when you want to have a foreign investment, when you want that people should have a lot of confidence in Pakistan, then you need to have a conducive security environment. In that, once you bring the foreign investment, then the countries bring their investment, they will ensure that India or anybody else doesn't interfere in Pakistan. And they will push the Indian that now we have investment, we are interested, economic interests are there, you will not do anything. Why people are supporting Indian? Because every country has an interest in Indian in this economy. So likewise, when we have a CPEC, Saudi Arab comes, UAE comes, Russia comes, Iran comes, you think they are going to let Indian do terrorism in Pakistan? No. That is what is the answer to all these things. So we need to work in two-pronged strategy. One, we should have a very good coordinating headquarters in NACTA. Then provincial should have their own headquarters where they should coordinate everything. Along with this, work out with the military so that their operations are carried out, this terrorism is eliminated, and particularly from Balochistan. Only then we can have complete CPEC, and if CPEC is completed, means we have a road to economic prosperity. Everybody will keep rushing. It is a big project. It is a big economic jump point in which Iran is interested, Saudi Arabia is interested. Saudi want to have an oil refinery over there. Then Russia also want to come, and Central Asia want to come in. China wants to come in. So everybody will come there, and that is from there. The whole Middle East, whole of Africa is available for the business of, not for us, for China and the related country who are going to make investment in Pakistan.
Now, when you look at the latest incidents that have happened in Pakistan as far as terrorism are concerned, 2 soldiers were martyred, 7 terrorist kills in North Waziristan gun battle. Then a day ago, 4 terrorists were killed during an intelligence-based operation in North Waziristan's Dusali area. On Friday, 2 terrorists were killed also in Kolachi area of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Dera Ismail Khan. Are the forces, you mentioned one country, I'd not like to mention it again, but you understand which country we are referring to, and other such forces who do not want a stable Pakistan in the whole context of FATF's decision as well, and the IMF also moving positively as far as Pakistan's future is concerned. Do you feel these incidents are also to destabilize Pakistan, to show to the world that the decisions taken by, for example, FATF or IMF are not in the right way, because Pakistan remains a destabilized or unstable country? Is that so? And if so, all the incidents that I've mentioned, they have been thwarted very efficiently by our security agencies. Nevertheless, what needs to be the proactive agenda of these agencies with the provincial and the national government in the future?
Omar, the important thing is, please understand, Pakistan is a nuclear country. Pakistan is an Islamic country. Our geostrategic location is very important. And CPEC is a lifeline to get economic prosperity. And we become economically strong, we can take our independent decision in national interest. And that is what the few countries they don't want. Because they want Pakistan to remain economically weak through terrorism, through there are a lot of political instability, then there were economic problems, so that we keep looking towards IMF, World Bank, and we agree to there so many things which are against our interest. This is the issue. For that thing, the proxy being used is India, using against China and Pakistan, and for Pakistan they are doing terrorism. Nobody asking anything else. Pakistan doesn't do anything in Pathankot, in Uri, in whatever happens. Pakistan is blamed, because you must have seen EU Disinfo Lab how they are going propaganda against Pakistan,
of course,
and that's what they try. So this is the main issue. Pakistan has to take China into confidence. Then of course USA is there. We must tell them what are our problems, what India is doing, how India is doing interference. We have already sent so many times these all dossiers to UN and America and to European countries. But we have to go more proactive. We have to tell the world, and particularly in our regions like Russia, China, they are the veto power, they are the nuclear countries, then Iran, that in case something happens in Pakistan, in this area, in this region, in subcontinent, how it is going to spread the fire in this region, and it's followed going to be the all over the world, particularly our regional countries. When we highlight all these things, then the world will realize, and these two countries, the important Russia and China, will realize, then really we have to do something extra to push India to pull their reins. Don't start interfering in Pakistan. Let this area be more peaceful. Work for in harmony. Work for the people, and stop doing atrocities in Kashmir, because Kashmir is a flashpoint. From there, everything is emanating. Like we have seen it 27 February 2019. What happened? So this is what we want. We only then we can start having negotiations with India. Why Pakistan is not negotiating? Because today, if you negotiate with India, that means India and the whole world will say that Pakistan has accepted the status of Kashmir, and that means Kashmir problem is gone forever from Pakistan. So that is why we are not negotiating. We want first settle something, do some positive things, then come on the table and talk to us for trade and everything.
Where does that leave the National Action Plan? Do you feel that the 20 points that you, of course, in the very beginning said were primordial, were the jugular vein of Pakistan's future? Do you feel that these points still hold as they were in 2014 in December, of course, following the deadly APS attack that happened in the massacre, or the deadly massacre on the children that happened in Peshawar way back, due to which the National Action Plan was brought into force? Do you feel more points need to be added, or do you feel that 20 points are more than sufficient to further strengthen Pakistan's security?
Omar, 20 points are the best. If we can ensure these 20 points, even 15 points, Pakistan get out of this trouble. The issue is there is a lack of political will and a mental resolve. This is what I say: when you have a madrasa reforms, you have a judicial reform, you have a police reform. Military courts were established for 2-3 years and then they were abolished. So, because the problem is you need people, and the civil courts are not trained to take on such heinous crime cases, because then they feel scared. If those are held in military cantonments, even civil courts established in military cantonment, then they will provide security. Their life is threatened. So there is a lot of permutation, combination can be carried out to solve these issues. Why not police reforms? They are very old, you see. And then likewise, madrasa you have to make a uniform syllabus in which the education, the religious and normal private education has to be imparted on those young boys who should be coming in the mainstream also. Likewise, judicial system for early justice system, because we always say justice delayed, justice denied. So these are the things we need to do it, and that has to be because when you get hold of someone, and the Peshawar courts, lot of they were involved people in those crimes in APS and everything, and they were given they were given bails. When they had been given a life punishment, they were acquitted from there. So you have to have a combination of Supreme Court of Pakistan must coordinate all these things with all the respective high courts and work out a strategy in the national interest, that what all we need to do to keep Pakistan very stable politically, and also terrorism wise also we have a conducive environment, so that we start working, developing economically, and then we create such an environment whereby the people from all over the world, they come and invest in Pakistan. The more dollars come,
of
the
course, the more
dollars
Pakistan will
become
be stable.
That
That goes without saying. Nevertheless, lastly, Brigadier Saab, when it comes to terrorism and of course different elements that we all know of are hampering Pakistan's progress and trying to hampering Pakistan's progress, how would you rate with the efficiency of our security agencies, whether it be the ISI, whether it be the army, whether it be the IB, whether it be the other security agencies?
Their work has been splendid, let me tell you. And I am not saying I'm serious about it, because 90% cases of terrorism before they could execute it are busted, and they are apprehended. Their facilitators or the weapon ammunition or the charges or the explosives all are recovered, and they are not told, they are not highlighted. Out of 10, one odd is executed, like you can say Karachi University, or you can say Stock Exchange, or you can talk about Lahore, Hafiz Saeed home area. So the one odd incident will keep happening. As long as you're doing good and you're carrying out 90%, you bust those nets, it's a very good job. The only thing is that you have to have, if you have a best of coordination within the provinces along with the NECTA, then things can be much, much better. Because every province should have a means to immediately inform NECTA, and NECTA should inform other provinces that this is likely to happen. Please take preventive measures. So these are the things which we should, and it affect the morale of people of Pakistan, morale of troops. And then I would say the way you have already told that a lot of army officers, young officers, then JCOs and troops are being, they are shaheed ho rahe hain. That matters. Where our politicians, our civilians must understand this supreme sacrifices. It seriously affects their morale when our politicians start talking about this. They
True.
start about talking
True.
about establishment.
True.
So these things
True.
don't, because think of their parents, their own children, they go.
Of course,
become
I feel all our security agencies and our forces need to be respected, because it is because of their efforts that Pakistan stands where it is. It is because of that 90%, as you have yourself also said, of the incidents remain unnoticed because of the timely action by these very security forces and these very Jawans who lay down their lives and are martyred in the fight against such elements. Thank you very much, Brigadier Haris Nawaz Sahab, to have joined us, to have talked to us about Pakistan's national action plan, the need to involve the provinces more closely, as has been enunciated by our Premier Shehbaz Sharif Saab, and of course the efficient role that NECTA needs to play also in the coming days and weeks. Let's come to our last two stories, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly. The first concerns COVID-19. We know the positivity ratio is increasing within the country. 2.85% is the current national positivity ratio. The most positive cities or regions are that in Sindh, whether it be Karachi or whether it be Hyderabad, and that is why a lot of instructions have been given as far as what the people need to do. They need to follow the SOPs, wearing the masks in crowded places, trying to wash their hands, avoid crowded places if possible also. Then comes the fact that the Civil Aviation Authority has also notified that all the travel between different cities inside of Pakistan needs to be done while wearing masks. Now this is also a new development, and also for city travel through buses or other means as well. Then also comes the fact that there is a huge notification that comes on different sectors that people need to get themselves vaccinated if they haven't, and if they have gotten themselves vaccinated, to get themselves boosted. The second booster shot for those who have gotten their three doses also needs to be given if 5 months have passed since the third dose was given. That is the first booster shot. The second booster shot also needs to be given, and there are different centers that are open across Pakistan in all the big cities where the people can go and get themselves vaccinated. The need is extremely important. The positivity ratio is increasing very quickly because of the BA4 and BA5 variants of COVID-19 that are very lethal and aggressive. Although the effects might not be as lethal as those of the previous variants, nevertheless they are very aggressive in nature, and those who are immunocompromised need to be extremely cautious, whether you have diabetes or any other disease due to which you are immunocompromised or are overweight or are elderly. One needs to fight collectively against COVID-19, and this is how we can do that. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our northern areas where Pakistan apparently is going to attract, and it is attracting, a huge number of tourists, whether it be those who are visiting the area or whether it is those who want to climb the peaks. As many as 1,400 mountaineers from across the globe, that includes the first female Arab climber, are also expect to scale some of the world's highest peaks that are located within the Pakistani region. Last year there were 550 foreign climbers that went for adventure tourism. This year it has more than doubled. These people are coming from Europe, the US, the UAE, China, Russia, Poland, Japan and Norway. And of course there's a huge environment of positivity, there's huge environment of stability in this region, and that is what is attracting all those foreign tourists and those foreign adventure climbers who want to scale the peaks that are located within the Pakistani areas. Good for Pakistan, good for Pakistani tourism. Let's hope and let's see more and more people coming to the north of Pakistan in the coming months. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new segments, stories that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe, follow the SOPs, get yourselves vaccinated. Allah Hafiz.